Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive Hobbycast. Daniel here, and today I am joined by
Pete,
the designer of Quest for the Lost Pixel, which was it like 1 or 2 years ago? It was kind of like the unofficial game of the Dungeon Dungeon Dive.
It was weird. It's just like kind of came out of the blue. I think you messaged me, so then I started posting a couple things, and then for whatever reason, people started posting more and more, and I was like, "Oh my god, what's happening now?"
Yeah,
but yeah, it was very exciting. I'm sure for the two of us, at the very least, because I just saw my stuff all over the place. So very cool.
So this is kind of a first for the Dungeon Dive. We have first time with an in-person interview with the designer, and also he brought in the new expansion. And what is this expansion called?
So it's kind of like the last one that I did. So Hack, Slash, and Loot had an expansion, and then a mini expansion. So it had the Sunken Treasures expansion. So this one's called Deities of Time, and it's got a mini expansion called Game Over, because this will be the final expansion.
So this is the final Lost Pixel expansion. The game is complete. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to put the new cards in my card holder because they are completely full.
Yep.
Gonna have to figure out a new storage system to play Lost Pixel. But so what we're gonna do today is we're gonna take a detailed look at the new expansion, and we'll go down to the table for that, and then we'll come back up to this view, and Pete and I are just gonna kind of talk about the making of Lost Pixel, some video game stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have an announcement for a giveaway for a complete copy of Lost Pixel.
Everything. So base game and all 4 expansions plus the obviously the new expansion.
The new expansion. Yep. All right, excellent. And then also you can announce the crowd sale, which is going to be starting up at the end
September 1st.
September 1st.
Yep.
So crowd sale on Game Crafter. So I know people. One of the main criticisms of Lost Pixel is the cost. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely.
But if you wanted the game and you're concerned about the cost, jump in on the crowd sale, because the more people who buy a copy, the cheaper it gets.
Exactly.
Yep. Quantity of scale. So, all right, guys. Well, we're going to jump down to the table now and take a look at the new expansion. Okay, so we are down at the table now, and we're going to do a really just kind of quick overview of what Quest for the Lost Pixel is, just in case some people don't know. Quest for the Lost Pixel is a game available on Game Crafter. And it is a roguelike dungeon crawl, a zero to hero non-campaign game where you're creating a character and going through 10 levels of a dungeon, trying to find the lost pixel and escape from the dungeon to win. Characters are pretty simple with all of the expansions. So far, this is all of the major expansions, and we'll be taking a look at the newest one. But this, you have a character and you have a hero. And then you have a level up card that you can add new powers once you reach a certain level. Each character starts with 1 spell. You can start with a pet. You can start with a side quest. And you get 3 powerful gems at the beginning of the game. And then you're going to be working through 10 levels. And each level has its own monster and treasure deck. And as each time you go down a floor, you go down and you fight stronger and stronger monsters, get stronger and stronger loot, try to level up your character, rinse and repeat. And here is a large stack of the tiles that you are working your way through. And with all the expansions, there's stuff like fishing, there's shopping, there's different kinds of events, random events. There is a dungeon within the dungeon with the catacombs. What else is there in the expansions, the original expansions that I'm missing?
They had a couple different one expansion introduced 3 different types of dungeons, which is the red one, the green one, and the blue one. So different dungeon tiles that you can get powerful equipment from.
Oh yeah, the super what are the green? The sets. Yeah, that's right. So you have sunken treasure. The sunken treasures you can get from fishing.
Yep, that's right.
So fishing mini game. There is the artifacts. Those are from the base game, and those are like powerful items. And then the cheat codes.
Yeah, there's the cheat chests that allow you to basically, as long as you roll the proper numbers when you actually encounter one of these cheat chests, you have to lockpick it before you actually get that item or special ability. And they usually break the game, hence the word cheat codes. But you're only allowed one of those, so those are very powerful as well.
And they're all kind of based on a video game motif, which I'm sure we will talk about when we get the interview portion
Indeed.
of the game. And there are a ton of spells, and the spells are also super powerful.
Oh, yeah.
I always like getting a new spell in this game because you can do all kinds of cool things with it. But yeah, so far with the game, we have a base game, and then we have the expansions. We have hack and slash loot.
Yep.
And we have Sunken Treasure was included with hacks. Okay, yeah. So those two came together. This was kind of like a mini expansion that came with hack slash loot. And then we have the risk and reward, which is where the different colored dungeon tiles came in, because you're having to go through these really dangerous dungeons in order to find your sets. And then probably, I think this is my favorite, is the catacombs.
Mine too.
Yeah, because it has the catacombs kind of like in Dungeon Quest, where you can go down, you can press your luck down into a deeper dungeon, and that is really fun.
Catacombs, I feel like in Dungeon Quest are a little bit more dangerous. This is like you are pressing your luck, but it's the same concept. That's where I kind of got the idea from. But yeah, it's like almost like a blackjack. You want to hit me, and then of course if you bust, you lose all those sweet items.
You lose everything that you've got. Yeah, that's really, I love that. Whenever I draw the catacombs card from the or one of them, I think there's a few, right?
There's one that's always included every single time you build a new dungeon deck.
And so I always go into the catacombs just because I love pressure luck games.
Yeah.
And I wish more games had pressure luck
totally agree.
Mechanisms. But okay, so this is like a world premiere, I guess, here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of the new expansion. So let's take a look at the cards here. So we have, let's see, this is the main expansion. Correct. And this is a mini expansion that comes with it.
Yep.
Okay, so the first one here is called Deities of Time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Deities of Time and what you were thinking when you were coming up with the components and the things that came with the game?
Yeah, so with Deities of Time, it actually comes with a deck of deity cards, and just like a lot of the other things in Quest for Lost Pixel, when you start the game, you're going to be handed 2 of these, and you're going to choose one of them that you would like to go with.
Oh, okay.
These are this is kind of like a love letter to so many people over the last like year and a half to 2 years that have had fantastic suggestions. And one of those suggestions were more ways to try to heal throughout the game, to remove damage tokens. And now you're given a deity that lets you do that. And the only way you can do that is by having that deity following its restrictions. Some of them have some pretty hard restrictions or harsh restrictions, but if you follow it, you should be fine. But if you don't follow it, then you abandon it and you actually gain damage tokens, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So, and how that works is time cards.
Are these new? These
are brand new time cards.
Okay.
So they're going to be replacing your old time deck, and when you flip one over,
let me get up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to get out the old time deck just so people can see. So here's the old time deck. Looked like that.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the new time deck.
Yep, new time deck. So when you flip over a time card now, there are deities on the other side. So when your deity pops up, you're going to activate your deity's effect. So you're kind of hoping for that blessing so you can remove some damage tokens throughout the game. So you'll be starting the game with these time cards opposed to the old ones now. But
so in certain game modes, you don't play with the full deck of time cards, right?
Correct.
So
and you wouldn't be doing that here either. So you're only going to, depending on your player count, you're going to be removing time cards, and you don't have to keep shuffling in different time cards. You're basically going to take, if this was your deity here, this Mabogo, you'll take this card, and I believe it's 10.
Okay. So you always have your god's time card in the deck, and then you add however many more you need to bring the deck to the full complement of cards.
Exactly.
Then how do you fail one of the quests?
So each one of them has a different restriction.
Okay,
so some of them are a little bit more difficult. So basically, you want to follow what your card says while you're playing the quest, or questing through the dungeon. And if you do, unfortunately, go against their restriction, you abandon that deity, and that card's gone forever, and you no longer can acquire another deity or those extra health tokens. So it's a little bit of a challenge.
Cool. So this is Ulatl, the god of music. Okay. And then it says, your hero may never equip any boosts. If they do, abandon your deity and gain 5 damage. And then if your god's card comes up, you remove 3 damage tokens upon the arrival of your deity. And then that can happen multiple times in a game.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Equipping any boosts.
Yep.
That's pretty.
That one's a little bit
That's
of a rough one. Yeah, that's a rough one.
That's rough right there. Here's another one. Epics. Your hero may never escape a monster. If they do, abandon your deity and gain 5. And that's the rogue.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
that's very cool. The original rogue had the ASCII art, and your hero was the @ sign.
It was. Yeah.
Very cool. I like that.
So that's the new time cards. The other thing that this introduces was actually a suggestion from you. Basically,
let me guess, a town phase.
It does.
Yep.
It has the village phase now. So this is a brand new mode. This is called the village mode, and you do not have to play with this. But this is another thing that you have brought up, and I kind of mixed some ideas with yours and mine and some other people's. You'll always start with the hero's house in your village, or hero's home.
Okay.
This will always be in your village no matter what. But basically, this is the only way that you can now level up. So between floors,
cool. Okay.
you go to the village. You may build different buildings if you'd like. And you'll have 2 actions. And each action going to one of these buildings will require one of these actions. But they all do something a little bit different. The way that you build these buildings is by spending maybe some extra XP that you'll be gaining throughout your adventure.
And that's the cost right there.
That's exactly right. You'll also be gaining scoring points. So if you're trying to go for a high score of a game, you'll be getting those points right there. And then, like I said, each one of these different buildings will provide different things for your hero throughout the game to, go and visit. The hero's house is always a free action, so you don't have to worry about spending one of your 2 actions at the hero's house. You can always do that between floors.
Okay, yeah. So the hero's home, free action. You may spend 5 XP to gain 1 level. Okay, so that's where you level up.
Yep.
Cool. Then let's see. The church here, as an action, you may remove 3 damage tokens. And then what about the scoring?
So the scoring. So if you're trying to play a game and you're trying to go for a high score, you'd want to build these buildings because this is how you're going to gain that high score. One of these buildings, I think, is the castle. Will just give you a ton of victory points. That's it. You just get a bunch of points. But now you can kind of go against your friends in a solo game and say, hey, I built this kind of a town. These were my end game scoring points, and you're going to count up all the points that you had on your building. So it's kind of a grind fest. You're trying to grind for all those sweet experience points while you're also spending those experience points on these buildings. So it makes the game a little bit more challenging, but you're also getting a little bit more leeway on the different buildings that you're building just because they all do something different.
I like the fishing port. Will give you a chance to use your fishing. If you have the expansion, you can use your fishing expansion in your town. That's super cool. And these all take place. This whole little mini game takes place in between dungeon floors.
Exactly.
Only. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And again, that's the only way you can level up if you're going to play with the village mode. But it's a little bit more challenging, but it's also a little bit more lenient in the actions that you can do.
And can you play with the village cards with a multiplayer game?
Yeah, you can definitely play with the multiplayer game as well. It is definitely meant more for solo, but my fiance and myself have definitely played with the village mode, and it works just as well. And it's actually really good with multiple people because you have multiple experience points to kind of spend and try to build some more of the buildings. I wouldn't use it as a scoring game, though.
Do you build separate villages, and then each of you can only take advantage of the buildings you built, or is it more of a co-op? It
would be
village?
A cooperative
village.
Yep,
Okay,
a cooperative village, and you can both access one building, so both of you can spend 5 XP to level up. So if you have 10 XP, each one of you would be able to spend those 10 XP and each level up, and then spend XP to build buildings if you'd still like.
Very cool. I like that.
One of those buildings is the blacksmith, and that kind of ties in with these new unidentified items that you get in the game.
So this is a new item set. So these will be mixed in with the treasure decks.
Yeah. So there's 5 in total of these unidentified items
in each treasure deck.
Each treasure deck. Yeah.
Okay. So what? That's 50 different new.
Yes, 5 times 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. I was like 10. Yep. Oh wow, that's cool.
So there's going to be a total of 5 in each one of those decks, and basically what you can do is you keep that. That's an item, but you don't know what it is. How you know what it is? Well, you got to spend a little bit of XP. That's you learning what that weapon would be or that armor would be, and then that would bring all sorts of really cool things. And the blacksmith is one way that can also help you identify those items without having to spend XP, because, I mean, minus the 4 initial XP to build the blacksmith. After that, you can identify those.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
But if you want to, if you don't have the blacksmith, you can always spend 2 XP, and basically we have a brand new deck here that has all sorts of brand new items, literally ranging from mediocre to some of the great ones to rotten meat.
Rotten meat, yeah. Yep. So you get something, you bring it back to your blacksmith, and he identifies it as rotten meat.
This was meat all along. But there's some really great cards in there.
Jeez.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like that. There's more things now to spend experience points on.
Yeah, so that was one of the bigger things that somebody brought up. Hey, what do I do with all this extra XP? Some people were leveling up really quick, so I was trying to meet in the middle and say, hey, let's stop leveling up so quick. But this is what you can do with some of the experience points that you may have left over, and now you can level with the rest of the game. So there's definitely a lot of stuff that you can do with the experience points in this expansion now. Yeah,
that's great. That's great. Because, there sometimes the game did feel a little easy.
Yep.
I think you've heard that complaint. I don't mind that because I like easy games.
I just love bashing stuff.
Exactly. But I know some people want a challenge.
Exactly.
So for those people, it sounds like this is kind of it is upping the difficulty a little bit.
Yep. It's definitely bridging the gap between the easier and some of the more hardcore players. And speaking of some of the hardcore players, in the Deities of Time, we now have this new nightmare mode.
Oh, wow. Let's see.
You can read some of these. These are absolutely
okay.
fantastic.
So these are little things that you can add to your game, little elements. So like new spell rules. When you use a spell, it is now locked. You may unlock one spell after each floor. So if your hero uses all 3 of their spells on a floor, that hero may only be able to unlock one of these spells to use on the next floor. Okay, so yeah, you're have to be a lot more careful with your spell use with there. Or equipping in battle. You may no longer equip new equipment while in battle. Once you have begun the encounter phase, you are stuck with the equipment you have on your hero. So yeah, you come up against a monster that you've got the perfect item in your bag to deal damage to that monster or to defend against it, and now you're just you have to escape.
Walk into battle with it, or escape.
Escape and then come back and possibly fight them.
One of my favorite things. So Nightmare Mode is literally, this is the collab from everybody. I feel like
so these are all kind of suggestions that you've heard. Like, hey, this would be cool to make the game more difficult.
David Waller is one of your guys, and he had a great list of stuff. There's a couple other people that have sent me suggestions, and honestly, some of these were so good I had to put them in this more difficult mode. The one that I definitely put in myself was the elemental stat one.
Okay.
Basically, this allows you to only use one chosen element. So if you've got fire, water, ice, earth as all of your elements, you're no longer rolling for all of those.
Yeah, you're not rolling all of your dice. It's only one element. So you have to choose. That's people always brought that up as a question. Like, can I use all of my elements?
Yep.
Oh yeah. Like if you have 5 different elements, chuck them all and do a whole bunch of damage. But now you have to choose one.
Yeah, and this so for me, this really opened the min-max in me. So now every single time I got an item, I'm just like, I'd rather have this one because it works better with the bow that I'm using because that one's earth and this new item's earth. So this is perfect. So
it almost creates, by limiting how many elements you can use in a single attack, it's making character builds more viable or stronger. You have to think a little bit more about how you're building your character rather than just everything
put the best stuff on all the time. This really just kind of breaks your mind a little bit. You're like, oh, okay, I gotta maybe go for this one instead.
Cool, that's awesome.
So that's basically all the stuff for the Deities of Time. However, Game Over is just that's a smorgasbord of so much stuff in the game. It introduces 2 new heroes.
So like we were talking before we started the video, how we both like expansions that just add more things to the decks of cards that you already have, and all of the expansions so far for Lost Pixel have done that. They've all added monsters or
things
items
from 2 previous expansions.
Yeah, that's super cool. So you get 2 new heroes here. You get the Construct with 30 HP.
Yeah,
is that the most?
That is the most in the game. But if you read its effect, you'll understand why.
Yes, the Construct cannot equip any treasures or artifacts. However, you may discard a treasure. Oh, okay, so he like kind of eats treasure.
Yeah,
or
well,
he like uses
he's
treasure.
made of. Yeah, he's made of.
So
stuff.
To do a 1d6 strength or discard an artifact to gain a I like that. I had a character like that. There's a build in the first Massive Darkness that's kind of like
Oh,
that,
nice.
where you can just pick up weapons and he can use any weapon that he picks up as a thrown weapon.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm just you're just have like axes and swords and spears, everything, and just chucking
throwing
everything.
A mace.
So that's cool. I like that. And then the Chanter and ability. Chanter may spend 1 XP to heal 3 damage tokens from any player, including themselves. Chanter may also spend 1 XP to reveal a potion. Oh, that's cool. That's a good kind of a utility character.
Exactly, yep.
So like in a solo game, you could play, if you wanted to play as 2 characters, you could bring the Chanter in as kind of like a banana seat for your
yeah, exactly, yeah.
for your character. I like that. That's cool.
Yep. And of course, each one of those has their own advanced classes that you can promote into. The
Construct, when he hits level 5, then you can choose to become either a war machine or a tank. And then the Chanter, when it reaches level 4, you can become a Beckoner or a Storm Speaker. Very cool. Those new characters sound really fun.
The other thing I did, kind of like what I did with the last expansion, I replaced the gem cards, and I know I don't like when people have to buy new cards, but another thing that was brought up to me was color with the potions. If I did it with the gems, I should probably try to do it with the potions
So
as well.
you made new potion shapes.
Yeah, so new potion shapes, new potion colors, and I've actually made, I think, 5 or 6 brand new potions.
Oh, cool.
So there's new stuff added into the game with that as well.
So for those of you that didn't know, where's my gems? I'll grab a gem.
Yeah.
So these are the new gem cards. So there are a variety of gems, and they are very, very powerful. And at first, in the first version, all of the gems were the same shape. Just different colors, and colorblind. So accessibility reasons, Pete went back and made new gem cards that have new shapes. So people who are colorblind can distinguish at a glance, which is really nice. And then you've done the same thing now with the potions. So yeah, that's super cool. I'm all about anytime a game designer can address accessibility issues, that's always a good thing. And I know colorblind, there's a lot of things in games I'm like, man, people are not thinking about colorblind players. So
I wanted to at least make that change just so it's a little bit friendlier for everyone.
Yep.
Speaking of gems, I did include 3 new gems.
Oh, okay.
Well, 3 cards, same gem though.
The Prismatic Shard. And so let's see. This is this may be used at any time as 1 XP. Then discard this card. Oh, that's nice.
Yep. So if you're down on XP, hopefully you have one of those and you can just discard it and gain an XP for yourself.
Very cool.
The other thing this adds was another one that was a suggestion by you. We've got new events.
Oh, cool. Some NPCs. Nice. That's awesome. We got some NPCs. We have a Traveler, a Lost Boy, a Dwarf Miner, Forgotten Hero. It looks like a Strider, kind of.
It does look like Strider, yeah.
Old Hag, Wandering Soldier, a Lady in White, and a Tragic Wizard. Okay, so tell me about the NPCs. What's the whole thing here?
So they want stuff.
Okay.
The things that they want are going to be random based on the NPC, of course, but each one of them wants something different, and of course they'll give you something in return by helping you in one way or another. But yeah, basically they just want stuff. So this is like one of the only times I've included events where you're not doing skill checks.
Yep.
You're actually trying to help these people by giving them the things that they need. So I wanted to do that. I didn't want to flood the event deck, but I wanted to be something special when you saw one of these NPCs. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I do have one of these things.
That's very cool. I love that. Yeah, I like the event deck has gotten really cool. Where's my event deck? So yeah, it's gotten pretty big. There's lots of different things, lots of different random events and traps and treasure you can find, and different little grinding mini games, little pressure luck mini games, locked doors, different kinds of mirages and portals, crafting tables where you can kind of transmogrify different gear, cheat codes there. A mega life pool. So yeah, all kinds of stuff. And now we're going to get to see some NPCs in there.
Yep. The next thing we have is more pets.
So 3 more pets here. So we have the Fuzzwald, which is a yak, and Tech, the dog, and Lucy the seal. Nice.
Gotta have seal in there.
Nightmare mode. What is that?
So that's a great question. So that is only used if you're playing in nightmare mode.
Oh, because it unlocks one of the spells. So that's
Exactly.
another way that you can unlock your spell by sacrificing your pet. Very cool.
We have a stack of new wandering monsters, which seems to be one of the things that I keep getting messaged about. Like, these are great. Add more. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So we have a deck of wandering monsters. Remind me, what are the wandering monsters? How do they appear again?
So in each one of the monster decks, there is a wandering monster enhancer. So these will pop up, and these, I mean, it really kind of makes the game extremely difficult in a moment's notice, or pretty easy depending on the monster that you find. So these are just wandering monsters that aren't specifically leveled towards that floor.
That's right. Yeah, they could be kind of any level, and they can come with a monster that you're already fighting.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
So we have a handful of new wandering monsters. We have the Rock Crusher, the Flesh Drop, Soulless, Grinder, Disdain, Wendigo, the Juggernaut, and the Fell Beast.
Ah, yes.
Which one do you think is, let's see, the strongest one?
Juggernaut's that was pretty rough.
Yeah, the Juggernaut with that
D10. 1d10,
yeah. 1d10, yep. That guy can have some elemental attacks there, so that could be pretty tricky. 2d6 Earth attack from the Rock Crusher. Yep. I like that guy. That guy's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Got some more Catacombs cards. Just 2. Nothing too crazy.
So two new cards to add to your Catacombs deck. So this is the dungeon within the dungeon.
Yep.
You will be looking through. So when you go into the Catacombs, you go deeper into the dungeon, and you get like 10. Is it 10 points to spend?
Yeah, you get 10 energy basically.
Yes, and then you spend your energy, and each time you flip over a new card, you have to spend energy. And you don't know how much you're going to have to spend from card to card, so you want to make sure that you end your trip through the Catacombs while you still have, so you don't run out of energy.
Yep.
If you run out of energy, you get kicked out, and you don't get any of the rewards that you came across. So you just have to kind of call it kind of like blackjack. And so now we have 2 new Catacomb cards. We have Dwarven Ruins, which only costs 1 energy to encounter, and the Labyrinth, which is a 0 energy, but you have to roll a die. On a d6, on 1 to 4, you lose an energy, and you have to roll again. Ooh. And on 5 to 6, you gain a treasure. Yeah, so that's like a pressure luck within a pressure luck.
Yeah, I don't mess around.
Yo, dog, I heard you like pressure luck games.
And then 2 artifacts, and then one more thing that I'm extremely excited for.
2 new artifacts, Hell's Razor and Vex's Robes. Excellent.
Yep. So those are the new artifacts. That's cool. But one of the things that I was most excited to do was, and one of my most requested things was, can we see more dungeon variety? Now, I'm a huge fan of Diablo 3. And when you open up one of those rainbow rifts or whatever they're called, I don't know what they are, but it's like the Love Land. I think they do something kind of similar with Massive Darkness 2. I think.
Yeah, I did have that like Marshmallow World or Candy Cane Lane or something.
Well, you can also enter that in this game as well.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Diablo 3 as well. Maybe let's talk about. Let's remember to talk about Diablo 3 a little bit.
Absolutely.
The Rainbow Rift. Okay, so these are going to be dungeon tiles, and you're going to mix those in.
So
or
actually,
is it a
completely different deck.
Oh wow, look at that.
Yep. So when you enter this,
so you enter in like the Rainbow World, basically. Okay.
So this is where you can kind of really get some great XP is in there, but it is god awful in the beginning of the game. If you ever run into it in the beginning, you might hope to. Because this card will be mixed in with the rest of the dungeon
card
tiles.
is mixed in.
Yep.
Is it like the Catacombs card? You always mix it in?
No.
So this is just a completely random. Yep. So you once you add in all of your expansions, you have a huge pile of dungeon cards. It's about, I don't know, what is that, 70?
Yeah, probably around 70, I believe. And that's why I included 2 of these.
So there's going to be 2. So you'll mix that into your whole stack. So you never know when you're going to pull a Rainbow Rift.
And what ends up happening if you go into the Rainbow Rift is you actually remove the floor that you're on.
So it kind of like resets that floor.
And you're now going through the Rainbow Rift. There's no more time. That's
nice.
Basically out of it. And there's no more events or anything that really happen. Every single thing is going to be in the explore or the encounter phase. So once you're done kind of moving, you flip over a card,
traps,
and you could see encounters. You can see crazy monsters in there. Some things will just completely boot you out of the Rainbow Rift.
Okay,
and then
town portal, like you go back to your town
automatically. So you're going to go back to the village. You can do your village phase if you want, or you're going to be moving to the next floor immediately, depending if you're playing with the village mode. So very cutesy stuff, but some of these things are stupidly dangerous. So
how do you get out to the next floor?
So the town portal is one way, and then when you find a specific card, you're actually forced to get out. So it's the same.
So that goes to the town portal as well.
Yep.
And then you go to the town, and then you automatically go to the next floor after that. After that town phase.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Oh, that is super cool. I really like this a lot. Yeah, that could change up the game a lot. And not seeding it in every game.
Yeah,
it'll be really exciting when it
pops up. You're like,
oh,
I want to go.
And you have to go. I guess you don't. You don't have to go.
You
don't
have a
have
choice.
to. You don't have
so
to
it is
trigger
a 4-way.
it.
So
yeah,
you do have the option.
What do you think's the most kind of vile thing you can meet in the Rainbow Rift?
Me personally, I have this problem every single time I play this. It usually happens to me right in the beginning when I play, so within like the first like 3 floors, and almost everything that I run into is pretty rough because they look cute, they're fun, but boy oh boy, some of them have
Reaper. That's is that a Kidicrus?
Oh yeah, very simple.
Yeah, the eggplant wizard or like the guy, right?
Yep. But some of them have some crazy defense. The attack on some of them are really, really wicked. The 3d6 on the baby piggy and 4 defense.
4 defense.
Yeah,
jeez,
they don't mess
man,
around.
Yeah.
But each one of these gives you 2 XP. So these are monsters that don't normally would have. Well, they wouldn't have normally have given you more than 1 XP.
Yeah, right.
So it's like you're fighting an elite monster every single time.
That is super cool. That's awesome. What a great way to round out the expansion. And it sounds like you really put a lot. You've been working on this expansion for quite a while.
For a little bit. Yeah.
Was this the most work you've put into an expansion, or over time has it become easier to kind of add things to the game?
This was probably the hardest one to try to put stuff into, just because I felt after the last one I may have finished. My main goal with that last one was to include fishing. That was my goal in life. But after that, I was like, what else can I put in here? So I liked the cheat codes and everything, so doing the art on that was fun. But this one was harder to grasp everything. But thankfully, because of the community, they would give me ideas, and I can kind of do my own thing and take some of their ideas, see what worked, see what didn't work. But yeah, for the most part, this one just took a while to do, mainly because of playtesting, especially the nightmare mode and village mode.
Yep, and here's like the fishing. So the fishing comes in a blue bag for the water. And then when you end your turn on a water space, you can draw a fish out. There are a number of different fish. You can get cool sunken treasures, which I've actually never gotten in a game.
Oh, yeah. No.
And sometimes you catch nothing there.
3 times.
There you go. But there are fish in here. Trust me, there are fish in this lake. And the fish you can feed to your pet.
Yeah.
There's a fish. And you can turn your pet into kind of like a super pet for a little bit. So, all right. Well, hey, thank you so much for showing us that expansion. And thank you so much for giving me a copy.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
awesome. I have Lost Pixel all set up, ready to play. So I'm going to jump in with some of this new expansion material with my Blood Mage. And that'll be I'm looking forward to building out the village.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Good. All right, guys. Well, we're going to head up to the other view now. And then Pete and I are just going to kind of discuss Lost Pixel, video games, and all kinds of stuff. Okay, welcome back. I hope everybody enjoyed taking a look at the new expansion, Deities of Time and Game Over. What a really cool expansion, man. There's so much cool stuff. But let's go back to the beginning.
Sure.
Let's take it all the way back. One thing I've wanted to ask you is, how did you get into this hobby? What was first? Was it video games or was it board games?
Oh, that's a great question. Probably video games. So I've always been like a big fan of like making board games or card games specifically. But after like making specific like card games for a while, it was one of those. I got into the habit of just getting into indie development, like super cheap dungeon crawl games, roguelike games like Rogue or Tome or Stone Soup, those kind of games. So I just so head deep into that, and I thought to myself, this has got to be something that I could probably make using a bunch of cards, because again, I love making card games. So I did very little research to see if there was anything like that. And at the time, I didn't realize that Dungeon Quest was even a thing because I hadn't gotten really hard.
Oh, there's the Games Workshop or the Fantasy Flight
or
version
the
of Dungeon Quest.
Yeah, which is, in my opinion, probably the closest thing you can get to a dungeon crawl roguelike in the board game hobby. So I just decided to make a board game for myself and my friends to just dive into and just play because I had some friends that were really big into roguelike. So, but yeah, definitely video games with some, sprinkling of card games in there.
So what kind of card games did you make?
I tried to make my own TCGs for a while or trading card games. And I actually have an old YouTube channel that tried to showcase other people's stuff prior, to people becoming slightly bigger and YouTube doing stuff like that. And then honestly, Quest for Lost Pixel was my first big board game. It actually had a different cover and everything, which I get remarked on all the time as well. Because not everybody likes that one. I don't care. I love that. I love that cover.
This one or the old one?
No, that one. They don't like that one as much.
I guess I've never seen the old one.
Yeah, it's just it's basically just a bunch of pixel art pictures on a cover. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's kind of goofy looking, but a lot of people like that one more because it showcased more of the pixel art.
More of the pixel art.
Yeah. But yeah, this was my first big board game. It took me, I don't know. I started in 2014 and I finally finished it sometime in 2015. And then I made it, and my friends played it, my family played it. We all had fun with it, and then it somehow resurrected in 2020.
Did you throw it up on GameCrafter? So the game is available on GameCrafter. For those of you that don't know, GameCrafter is a print-on-demand service that a lot of indie developers use, and people also use to make prototypes because, my God, does it make beautiful prototypes?
Yeah,
The Dungeon of Doria one that I looked at was all done in GameCrafter, and it was a beautiful prototype, but it was also $300 a copy.
Yep.
Because he was making 2 of them, and there was close to 1,000 cards. Lost Pixel has almost 1,000 cards in the base game. I think 800.
I think it's 850 or just above that, somewhere in there.
So I know people think it's expensive, but you're getting almost 1,000 cards. And the game is about $100.
Yeah, so it's I think just over $100.
It does seem like a lot, but when you look at the Arkham Horror Living card game, those sets are $65, and you only get about 600 cards. Right. And that's coming from a company like Fantasy Flight, where they are printing many thousands of copies of their game. And so when you think about $100 for more cards, and you're getting your copy that gets printed, it's kind of like your copy. Yeah. I mean, sometimes the cards will be misprinted just a little bit. Yep. Off center. Yep. But that's fine. And your cards may be more off center than somebody else's, or different cards might be off center, and that's kind of cool. I mean, your copy is a little unique. Yeah. I kind of like that.
They're definitely getting better, I've noticed, with the centering. But yeah, there's some times where I'm just this is a little different. But I'm the same with you. It's not a big deal for me.
No, it's not a big deal to me at all. And GameCrafter's quality is top tier.
Through the years, they've just gotten better and better.
Their cards are some of the best quality cards. I love the way their ink smells. When you get that GameCrafter game,
I open the bag and I sniff it.
I'm really happy that Lost Pixel doesn't have very many chits.
I know.
Because the tokens are
the worst
pain in the ass.
Yes, absolutely.
They're laser cut with an actual laser, and you have to clean up a ton of soot
off your hands afterwards.
It smells terrible. Like a campfire every time you open the box.
I don't mind the smell of the campfire. That's nice. It's cleaning up afterwards is just
you end up with a pile of paper towels wiping each chit.
It's true. Yeah, it's very true. But yeah, GameCrafter's been great. They've definitely, their quality has just gone through the roof over the years. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I've said, because a lot of people do say, hey, this game is very expensive. You take a look at a game like Thunderstone, and this is pre-Thunderstone Quest. But if you look at Thunderstone,
just cards, just cards.
You're looking at a $60 game. You're getting about maybe 300 to 400 cards.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's double the amount of cards. Now we're in the hundreds. Now I decided to put all of mine in the base game, where they're putting theirs out one expansion at a time. So, it's just one of those things that it's rough. It's rough to hear that it's so expensive, but at the same time, I can't go any less expensive.
No, you don't really have control over.
Right. I literally don't make. I actually do the store credit route for my games because I do make so many games. I try to make games for literally friends, family, or even gifts for people during Christmas. So that's the route that I like to take, and even that I made. Like, I don't make very much for Lost Pixel, even that route. So it is what it is. That's how much it costs to make almost 1,000 cards.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
Yeah, you do get. It does feel like you get. It feels like a game and an expansion in the game. I could see maybe you could split it up into floors. Have like a base game that comes with all of your heroes and spells and all this stuff, and then floors 1 through 5.
Yep.
And then you could buy floors 6 through 10 as an expansion or something. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's not the full experience.
No, it's not the full experience. It's like the to be continued.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have it to
Just
be continued
chapter 1, and then there's chapter 2 over there. Yeah.
And the expansions, I think, are actually quite affordable. And the nice thing, one thing that I do love about the expansions from Game Crafter is they don't come in boxes. So they just come shipped in a bag. And you made sure, I remember you saying that you made sure that everything can fit in the base. And did you say now, like, with this new expansion, this box is packed,
this box
right?
is very, very full to begin with. It does add a lot of cards, but there's not a ton of... Oh, how do I say this? It's not a ton of cards. It's a ton more variety going into each deck. So you are taking out the potion cards and replacing them with a brand new potion deck. You're doing the same thing with the time cards. So you are saving a little bit of space there. But everything does fit into the base box. I've seen some people do some very creative and amazing like inserts for the game. Yeah. So I worry about those people. Yep. I hope everything still fits nicely for them.
My solution is very, very creative. Lots of plastic sandwich bags. Yep. So I put one monster floor and the treasure deck.
Yep.
In each bag.
That's how I did it before.
Pardon my dog Monty. He's going crazy in the other room. But yeah, I just put everything in sandwich bags, and it works fine.
That's what I do. Yep. If it's not in this, it's the exact same setup. So, it's it'll all fit in there. So no worries there.
So, roguelikes. You mentioned Stone Soup.
Yep, Stone Soup.
That's a pretty hardcore roguelike.
That one.
I've not gotten into Stone Soup or
Tales of Maj'Eyal or Tome.
Yeah, Tome.
I love both of those games a lot. I've played both of them.
What about? There's another one, a newer one that's super complex. Caves of Cud.
I've heard of that one. I haven't tried it yet though, actually. So that would be a new one to dive into.
That game is insane.
Now I have to try it.
It has so many. Somebody suggested it to me. I recently did a video on some video games for board gamers.
Yep.
A lot of them were kind of roguelike-y, and somebody suggested that game in the comments, and I bought it on Steam, and I feel like I have to have a PhD. It's kind of like if you took Dwarf Fortress and made it into a roguelike.
Okay, yeah. All right. I see where you're coming from.
Nuts. And has a really cool look. But Stone Soup is up there.
Yeah, Stone Soup's complicated. It's mostly the controls. Once you start to kind of figure out exactly what you can do, there are definitely some videos that help you and try to figure out as far as some of the statistics that you're trying to look for. The controls is the biggest thing for me because most roguelikes have their scheme on the keyboard, so you're trying to figure out what those do. But yeah, the statistics, it's a lot to break down in that game, but that's a great game as well. I love Stone Soup.
What are your what's your top 3 roguelikes you think?
If I'm gonna go straight like roguelikes,
so let's define those. How do you see that? I know the difference between roguelike and roguelite is pretty nebulous. People, So when you look for a roguelike, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for something that's more... For me, I like a dungeon crawl, just like the original Rogue does. So I'm a bigger fan of that. However, I love roguelites. Those are very fun as well. I feel like the market's kind of saturated, at least in the video game ways.
It's like 5 come out every week.
Yeah, I know.
And they're all somewhat fun. I mean,
I know that's what hurts me the most. Because they're so much fun. But out of the roguelike genre though. Especially going old school, I would have to say like Tales of Maj'Al, which is fantastic. It's not so much a dungeon crawl, or it's like more of an open world roguelike. Stone Soup is probably right there behind it, and then something simple like maybe even Binding of Isaac would probably be in that one. Quick, it's easy. The dungeons are always randomized. The items you get are always randomized. So that one's probably up there as well.
Yeah. I like Tangle Deep a lot. I think Tangle Deep is probably my favorite. I personally consider Tangle Deep to be pretty traditional.
Yes.
In its execution.
It's the best roguelike on the Switch for me.
Yeah.
As far as like depth goes, I really love Tangle.
Yeah, there's really good systems. The art is amazing. Some amazing pixel art, and the music. Oh my god, the music is just gorgeous.
I love the music in there.
And then I like that one a lot. I like For the King, which is a weird kind of hybrid board gamey kind of roguelike. And then the newest one I'm playing, which feels like the most role playing, is Unexplored 2.
I haven't tried that one.
Really weird game. Kind of a big open world and some survival elements, but it has its progression is when your character dies, hundreds of years pass in the world, and factions rise and fall, and they establish new kingdoms, and the factions move around the world map, and then you come in as a descendant into that progressed world to try to complete the quest. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
I like that.
But there aren't too many games now that are really one and done.
No.
Like, even the traditional ones like Tangle Deep have some progression from game to game. You're unlocking things.
Yeah, so like every time you die, you've got something to either spend, or a town's being built, something similar to the village mode, but again, you're doing that between floors. But yeah, there's, like you said, some sort of progression that's helping either your character or what's going on. Yeah. Almost a character progression, actually. Yeah. In some cases, like Hades or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, Hades was really good. Yeah. Really good writing in Hades.
Oh, that's great. I love Hades as well.
So when we were looking at the game, and we came across Rainbow Rift, which is kind of like the Rainbow Realm in Diablo 3. Yep. You mentioned that you really like Diablo 3, and I love Diablo 3, and I know a lot of people don't like Diablo 3. All they want is Diablo 2. Yep. I bought Diablo 2, the new version. Yep. Started playing it. Nope. I will stick with Diablo 3. It is I'm here. It is a better game.
I hate to agree with you, but honestly, so Diablo 3 I feel like is the arcadey version of a dungeon crawl. You're going in there and you're just laying waste to everybody, where I think Diablo 2 is more of those, it's a slower dungeon crawl, hack and slash, where you're going through more methodically, and you're not just going in all balls to the wall kind of collecting stuff and trying to figure out which stuff you're going to leave behind, where Diablo 3 I just want it all. I want it all. I want to use it all. It's so good. I love Diablo.
I mean, I get why people like Diablo 2. Yeah. There are more critical decisions you have to make in your character build. Yep. You do have to think more about the gear.
But that's like throughout the whole game. That's what gets me with Diablo 2. With Diablo 3, I could put on whatever until the end game, and then I start going through the end game content, and I'm like, all right, now I'll start picking up different sets and different legendary gear, kind of min-max that way. But Diablo 2 is such a grind.
It is. It's very slow going too. I mean, in Diablo 3, you're popping levels like the first hour. You're like, oh man, I'm already up to level 10 or something.
This is a fantastic game. Yeah.
Yeah, they shortened this stick with the carrot on Diablo 3, but they also, I think, Diablo 3 had a terrible launch with that real money auction house, and it was not fun. There was but over the years they have added so much content for free. I mean, it seems like every time I turn it on, there's some new patch that has added some kind of new rift, new season, new floor plans, new tiles, new loot. There's so much. Every time I turn it on, it's like, oh, what am I going to discover that's new in Diablo 3
I love
today?
Diablo 3. It's just a really great game.
Yeah, I don't know about Diablo 4.
I'm worried about that.
I haven't really looked into it. I'm not a big fan anymore of Activision and Blizzard. They make it really hard
If they go the route is
to like them.
that Immortal game, I feel like we're going to be in trouble.
I played Immortal for 2 bus rides,
And
I was done with it. It's okay. It's not terrible. It's a good Diablo on a phone.
I heard it's like kind of pay to win, or to at least progress to.
People are, yeah. I mean, you can play through the whole game and not pay.
Okay.
But I know for a lot of people, the end game is where Diablo starts.
Right.
For me, I'm not like that.
Okay.
Like,
that's fair.
I play a character, I beat the game, and then I start again. I don't do in-game grind.
That's why I love the seasons with Diablo 3.
Yeah.
It's like I just want to go through the
play
game,
through the game and be done.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've heard that to get to that in-game kind of grindy part of the game, that's when it does start to become kind of a pay to win.
Yeah.
But you know what? If I was just gonna play it for free, I think it'd be okay. The thing is I would rather play it on a Switch.
Or
sitting there with my
TV.
phone, it's just like I don't know. I'm having my thumb on the screen as a control method.
Yeah.
I don't play very many mobile games.
Yeah,
I don't have anything against them, but I
just never find it as like the gaming device of choice.
Exactly. It's not when I turn to when I want to play a mobile game. I'll play on the Switch or I have my Vita, which is hacked and.
Perfect.
I can play like every
all the good ones,
every game that I could possibly think of on the Vita.
It's so good.
So let's talk a little bit about the art in Lost Pixel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who so you work with is it like
so for Adventure Realms I worked with a pixel artist.
So okay, Adventure Realms, you worked with a pixel artist. So Adventure Realms, all of the art was made for Adventure Realms. Is that
Ish.
Or okay, yeah.
So it's hard to put.
It's kind of like a library or a group,
a
community of pixel artists, right?
Well, for Adventure Realms, it's actually just one artist. For Quest for Lost Pixel, it's kind of like you can get assets.
Okay.
So you get the assets, and you take those assets, and you can combine them. If you know even just a little bit of graphic design, that's something that you can definitely do with Photoshop or even some of the more free photo.
Do they make art software specifically for modern pixel art?
Yeah, so I do a lot of pixel art as well, and I still use Photoshop, but I do know that there's some really great software, and I wish I can remember any of it because I'm just so used to using Photoshop. Yeah. But there's definitely some fantastic software specifically made for pixel art. But for like Quest for Lost Pixel, that's a ton of assets. I did all the graphic design for the layout of the cards.
Okay.
I did the backgrounds for the cards, and then I also did a lot of the iconography that you see in the cards. And same thing with Adventure Realms. I did all the iconography for that, and then all the graphic design for that. But yeah, you're taking art assets, you're inputting them into place, and then just hopefully everything lines up the way you want it, and then you're good to go. This is an earlier project. I would even say that most pixel artists would look at this and probably say, hey, this is kind of wonky in some areas, and I would agree, but then there's a nostalgia to some of this.
So what would they say? Would they say it's not
lined up? A lot of pixel
pixels?
art. Yeah, the pixels aren't lined. Yeah.
So is it not authentic?
I wouldn't say it's authentic, no, because not everything was done almost on the same format, where almost all of Adventure Realms.
Yeah, Adventure Realms has that. It does look. It does have a different look.
Cleaner.
It's cleaner.
Yeah, it's cleaner,
okay,
and then the art is obviously a lot different. But yeah, there's definitely ways. There's free assets that you can also reach out to, which is how I originally started off with this. There was the same assets that actually Stone Soup uses. There's an artist called RL Tiles. He basically just creates
I think I saw the name in here. Yeah, okay.
So he creates a ton of tiles for Stone Soup to use, and it's free to use for other people. So you can go onto his websites and stuff like that, or her. I'm not sure what they are, but it could be a company as well. But basically, they have a ton of assets that you can utilize, and that's how I started with Quest for Lost Pixel. And then over time, I started finding more pixel art, more assets, which is why the potions for the potion deck, these were all just one color or one shape before, because that's all I can find at the time. So I would change the color of every potion, where now I've got new assets and I can finally do something with different shapes for colorblind and try to help people in that route.
That's cool. I was just made aware. I mean, I've been into fantasy games for a very long time, and I just kind of realized that you can buy fantasy art assets to use in your games. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
And so 'cause I started noticing about a year ago, I started noticing the same art being used in multiple indie games. And even some of like Jason Glover's art is used in various indie games. Dean Spencer's art is used in multiple games. The same picture. Freddie Lopez, his art is used. I've seen their art, and I was like, oh. And then you go onto a site like Drive-Thru RPG.
Yeah.
And like, oh, you can buy a pack of drawn skeletons for $10, and then you can use those skeletons as art in your game. And that's super. I had no idea. Like, I imagine like every piece of art for every game was specifically created for that game.
Most of them kind of go through that, and I think a lot of people who do prototypes and stuff like that use assets, and then eventually we'll find a bigger company to then, hey, this is the custom art that we're going to provide. But I mean, for indie designers like myself, or even Jason Glover does a lot of his own artwork, and he's amazing with what he does. This stuff is his pen work is so good. But yeah, I've seen some of the assets that he's used in Iron Helm, and I'm like, wow, I want to use it, but I never want to step on that man's feet. But yeah, there's he's good. But yeah, you just start to see a lot of that repeated artwork, and you're like, oh, hold on a second.
Like there's this one. I wonder if I can find it real quick.
Yeah.
There's this one picture on cover for a Fort Against Darkness expansion. Did I just get lucky? Yes, I did.
Yep.
This picture right here, I have seen on like
a couple different things.
5 different games in the last 6 months or something. Illustrations. And
usually they'll actually. So most people, if you have assets from, they want their name in the credits somewhere.
Yeah. So it might be Peter Kostwick maybe, or Wormtail maybe, or Dominique maybe, because I know it's not Andreas Safiligoy, because that's and his art's cool too.
Oh, I know.
Andre's art is awesome. Like
I think I have most of the stuff that you have. I might have I think I'm missing 1 or 2 that I think you have, but Fort Against Darkness. Fantastic.
Yeah, so much cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, and I think like Stinky Goblin is another artist. I think it's a couple of people who work together, and I've seen their art in multiple games, the same images. But that's cool because I'm slowly working on a game, and I was wondering, okay, where am I going to get art? And I know art's one of the most expensive things, especially for an indie developer. Art is the most expensive thing, except for your time, and your time is basically free because you're probably not making a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
And so where are you going to come up with art? And just being able to buy art assets for pretty cheap and throw in a book is really cool.
There's definitely some great websites out there like what's it called? itch.io or itch.io or something like that. They usually have some great asset bundles. I've used them a couple times. But there's fantastic websites out there that you can utilize, and they have fantasy art to sci-fi art to some place to do pixel art. But yeah, assets fantastic if you're trying to make a game. So
before we forget, so let's talk business a little bit. So the new expansion.
Yeah.
When does the new expansion go live on GameCrafter?
So it will go live as a crowd sale starting on September 1st.
So that's the at first that's the only way you can get it is via the crowd sale.
Correct.
With just the expansion.
With just that, it's going to be the crowd sale is going to be the expansion itself. So it's going to be the Deities of Time with the game over. It will also have the base game of Quest for Lost Pixel. That way,
you can add to that crowd sale.
Yep, okay. And then also the Catacombs of Etheria, which is my favorite expansion.
Okay, so those 3 things are going to be in that crowd sale, and you can pick what you want from those 3 things.
And then if you want just one specific thing, you can go that route. If you want all 3, that's fine. The more people who buy into any of those will, of course, start to drop that price down. You can also add to your order. So the other 2 expansions aren't a part of the crowd sale, but if you want those other 2 expansions, you can definitely do that. It does end on the 15th of September. I believe at midnight is how I have it set up right now. So
we have about 15 days?
Yeah, about 15 days. So a good solid 2 weeks for anybody who wants to get it. This is the first time I've ever done a crowd sale, so it's kind of exciting, and it's good for a lot of people that hopefully get a discount. Yeah,
and one thing to remember is just have patience with a crowd sale, because GameCrafter is pretty small. Do they have 1 printer? I mean, I don't know. They probably have more, but
I feel like it's some deep, dark secret, because I'm friends with JT Smith, who's the owner of GameCrafter, and he just, this is like, you never It doesn't say anything about anything, so it just lets it happen. I would say it's probably a pretty big place, though, because, I mean, even though that they're publishing a lot of stuff, you got to think about Kickstarter, right? So if you go on Kickstarter, you back something, it usually takes a year. With GameCrafter, a lot shorter. So even with a crowd sale, it does take some time. It might be a couple months, but you're not waiting a year.
Like 2 or 3 months, I think. Is I know that Iron Helm.
Yeah,
he sold a lot of copies of that Iron Helm expansion, that final expansion.
Yeah, the Iron Chest. Yeah, that was
and that was backed up for about 3 months, and people were watching their game in their queue, and it was like spot 500, and then it would get bumped to like 1,000. Because I think with the crowd sales, I think they try to push through multiple copies in the queue at one time.
They do, yeah.
And so you'll get a batch that go through, and then you'll get a batch of games outside of the crowd sale, right, and then another batch will go through. So just keep that in mind. It's not Pete. He's not like holding on to your game or anything.
Gonna keep it forever.
It's the game grabber. It's a slow process.
Yeah,
it can be a long process, but and so then also you are doing a giveaway. Talk about the giveaway a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm doing a giveaway for the Quest for Lost Pixel. What I wanted to do is basically give everybody a chance to at least get a copy of Quest for Lost Pixel. So basically what it's going to have is the base game, so Quest for Lost Pixel. And it'll also have all 4 expansions as well. So that obviously includes the last expansion. So all you have to do, basically starting now, all the way up until the 30th of August, you just need to email me at LostPixelContest@gmail.com. And again, by, I believe, by 5 p.m. on the 30th of August, that's where I'm going to do the draw. Once I pull somebody's name, I'm going to email them immediately. They have 24 hours to get a hold of me. That way, if they don't get a hold of me, I'm going to try to pick somebody else and give somebody else a shot. But again, that's LostPixelContest@gmail.com by the 30th of August. And then I'll reveal somebody's name there at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard.
Where are you going? You're going to email them, and
correct.
Yep. So yeah, I'll post that. I'll post the details in the description. I think this is going to go up this coming Friday, which is what, the 20th? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. This is going to go up. This is going to go up on the 20th. So a lot of people have a few days. So what's so with this final expansion? This is the final expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you are working on a kind of a small version of Quest for the Lost Pixel.
Yeah, it's going to be the same universe. So I'm trying to do a smaller version, small components, big punch kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have the combat system dialed in.
It's more dice, right?
So there's dice, but it's not going to be like D20 style dice. It's actually going to be card combat, but the dice being used all just depends on the monsters that you're fighting, which I'm very, very excited about this combat system. I don't want to get into it yet.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling so personally, I've never seen a combat system like this yet, and I try to do as much research as I can nowadays, opposed to back in the Quest for Lost Pixel days. But I have yet to see something similar to this, the way that the cards work against the dice and monsters. But it's going to be more of a party system. So you're going to be traveling through with a party of heroes opposed to just one hero.
Okay.
But it will be a one-shot, just like Quest for Lost Pixel is.
And it's not soloable?
Yep, soloable. Yep,
and
absolutely.
Co-op or competitive? Or are you focusing just on solo?
I think it's going to just be straight solo for this. So very much in the same veins as Rogue Dungeon or even Iron Helm.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think there is some confusion, at least for me, with Quest for the Lost Pixel.
Yeah.
How do you usually play it? Do you play it competitively? Do you play it co-op or solo? Because it kind of exists in this weird space where it's kind of all of them.
It's all a little bit of them. So I probably, it's either solo or 2 players for me, but I've definitely played it with 4 players before. I've had usually with 4 players, you're playing a whole night around it because it's definitely a longer game. But solo and 2 players is my favorite, mainly just because it's the 2 of you, but it's usually just co-op. I've never played competitively, even though I feel like it is.
Yeah.
Because you've got items that somebody wants, and I'm like, well, I want them too, so you're just battling to try to figure out who's going to get what items.
Yeah, I've always played co-op, where everybody who's playing is trying to get the Lost Pixel.
Right.
And if somebody gets it, everybody wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it was designed to actually be played. So, but yeah, I mean, I started playtesting this just as solo player, and then I had to figure out what the time cards and stuff were as far as XP time cards and the dungeon tile. So I had to figure out what that was up to 4 players. And I'm like, I think this is about right. And that's why when Hack/Loot came out, I dialed it down.
Yeah, dialed it down a little
because
bit.
nowadays you don't want to sit there for 10 hours just grinding in a card game. So it definitely has dialed it down a bit, but still fun either way.
Have you ever experimented with any like PvP? Have you ever even just played PvP with the rules, like where you can attack other players?
I haven't.
Like that?
And unfortunately, this is the last expansion.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I think you could do it with just the rules as written.
That's true.
You could attack another player just like you attack a monster.
Yeah, probably very much so.
I don't know. I've just kind of wondered about that, like in
the arena mode.
Yeah, arena mode, or just like you could attack somebody to steal one of their items or something.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's good. That's one of the biggest things for Quest for Lost Pixel and some of the community is like the home brewed stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like to try to homebrew a few things, which is great. And I love that. I love that in games. So, I mean, just put it in the comments, put it in BGG posts.
Yeah, then it's official. So like I know there has been some talk of so this is kind of an 8-bit version. There was some talk about a 16-bit super Quest for the Lost Pixel 64 32-bit.
Yeah,
are we gonna go through like I want to see the PlayStation version, the early 32-bit version,
polygons.
But yeah, I know things are really. I mean, I know you get asked this all the time on the Dungeon Dive Facebook group. When is the new version coming out? Wow, why aren't you going to Kickstarter? Yeah. What's going on? How come it's only on GameCrafter?
So I'm glad you're bringing
things
this
are
up.
Crazy now.
Yeah.
Things are just things are super expensive, and people are like designers are mortgaging their house. They're losing the mortgages on their house to cover shipping costs. I mean, it's not worth it, right?
Right. No, for me, so I'm just a normal guy off the streets. I also have a full-time job. I'm also trying to take care of my family. So it's just all of that on top of trying to manage everything from production to shipping to containers to delivery to distribution, everything. For me, that's a lot on just one person. And I know some designers can do it, and that Godspeed for them, because that's amazing. But for me, financially, I'm definitely not in that. I do not want to put my all into something and then have to risk something like that. And I know that we're starting to get better, which is great. But that's why I feel like, as of right now, I almost want to lean more exclusively to the GameCrafter. They've been fantastic. I know their games are expensive. I don't really do this for profit anyways, so I will try to, in the future, lessen the amount of content that you get in the game and make a smaller package.
Experiences that are still offering a cool experience.
Iron Helm does a fantastic job at doing something like that, and it's still cheaper, and that's what you would expect for a game like that, because it's got a great substance to that, smaller package.
Yep, Rogue Dungeon is a nice small package.
Or VHS size.
Yeah,
I just want to pull it out of its sleeve.
Yep.
So that's what I'm trying to do, hopefully, with this next iteration. Instead of doing a grandiose 32-bit Quest for Lost Pixel and put it on GameCrafter, or Kickstarter, rather. So, I mean, Kickstarter for Quest for Lost Pixel is done. Just not worried about it. It's not worth it for me in the long run, unfortunately, at least right now.
I think that's a good. And like this is always available, so it's not going anywhere on GameCrafter. So what I try to tell people is like, instead of buying 2 so-so games, buy one really good game that you might like really like. And I've had so much fun with Quest for the Lost Pixel. Geek Gamer, she introduced the game to me. She was kind of like the spearhead of like new era of Quest for the Lost Pixel.
And somebody posted on one of her videos, I think between 2015 and 2020, there was, I think, a total of maybe 3 or 4 people who've bought the game. And one of them just kept commenting on one of her videos, "Hey, you should do this." So she reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd like to do a video." I'm like, "Yeah, go for it. That'd be great." So she did the video, and then I started getting ding, 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 ding on my email, And then you emailed me and said, hey, basically, how does this rule work? How does this rule work? Hey, I've got a video. I'm like, what's happening? And that's when I discovered the dungeon dive. I'm like, oh my God. And then you're like, you should join the Facebook group. People are talking about this game. I'm like, what is happening right now?
Everybody was talking about Quest for the Lost Pixels.
So it was very exciting. Yeah. 2020 was like the day, or like basically Geek Gamer hit it, and then towards the end of 2020. I think it was 2021.
Yeah, 2021. Yeah, it was a pandemic game.
Yeah, that was the one that seemed to make people happy. So
yeah.
Very
awesome.
Cool.
Well, hey, thanks so much for stopping by.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
really appreciate this. Was super fun. World premiere, the first time we've ever gotten together with a game designer in person, looked at something new, had some cool things to announce. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we're really looking forward to everybody look on GameCrafter for the sale, and check out Quest for the Lost Pixel, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
September 1st.
September 1st.